Okay, so now we are going to submit our data to the server. We spent all this effort actually getting the data. We should probably find a way to get it to us somehow. So, the first thing that it's worth talking about is if you have any data, any of those form elements, those get captured automatically. But we will also have other data which we made in the last tutorial, and we have to add this manually to our form. So in trialorder.js, in your trial.end method, let's add some data. Let's add our start time, end time, and duration to the form. So we're going to do that with an add data function, and this is defined in common.js. So this takes a key value pair, so we're going to do the page plus start time. Okay, and then the second parameter will be the actual value, so start time. Let's make 3 of these. End time, duration, end time, duration. Okay, and so now this data has been added to the form and it'll be grabbed and sent to the server automatically. So let's go to scripts and common.js and look for send data. Okay, so this is a function that's going to actually take the data from the form and send it to us. So it's going to try and get all of our data, and it does this in 2 ways. It gets minimal data, so it's like if something messes up, what is the smallest amount of data that you would find useful? And then all data is best case scenario, which would be minimal data plus other data. So let's first start with minimal data. It gets a page version and the user version, and you remember that version key we made in the last tutorial that basically just told us the order of the trials. That's what this is. Page version is defined up at the top here. Anytime you make a new version of your form, like maybe you noticed an issue or something, you might want to change that. So that way, if you notice any issues down the line with a specific version, you can easily sort those out and hopefully apply some workarounds to the errors you may have created. Let's see. Let's also add a viewer version. And so this way, if we find out there were any issues with a version of the viewer, we can diagnose those as well. So we get the viewer version with viewer get version. Okay, and we also get the time when the page first loaded, the time when the viewer finally loaded, how long it took to load the viewer. So if you notice your delay is really long, you might want to consider compressing your images more or something, or just warning somebody that it might take a long time to download. And the total time, which would be the time they hit submit, minus the first time the page loaded. You might also want to get the inches and pixels of your viewer, so that way you know if you might need to throw out data if the screen size is too small. And we don't need to add click data, so I'm going to remove that. Okay, so here in all data, we can also get the scroll data. We're only going, at least in mine, for trials 1 to 2, so these are both inclusive, so it's trials 1 and 2. And we're going to get the shader log. Okay. Now in send data, if they successfully sent the data, then we take them to a reward page. We don't have that yet. So let's go to custom.js and let's open our own custom utilities.js. So in custom, let's find a reward. And we'll say this is a state helper. Okay, so I still have my reward page on index 4. So basically this just shows that page, which is just a blank page, not used for anything, so I don't have to worry about any clicks or anything showing up on that page. It makes sure click lock is off because we need click lock to be off to launch fireworks. And instead of 2 fireworks, let's launch 3. You've been through a lot, you deserve a 3rd firework. Okay, now let's go to v.html. When we send data, we do so with that one function. So after they submit any comments, that was where our submit button was. So rather than going straight to our pdbf main page, just be send data. Okay. And the send data will go to a success page, which we don't actually have. So we'll instead make our success page this pdbf main. So I'm going to copy that, go to common.js, scroll up to the top. We will find this success page and change it to pdbf main. Okay, so let's actually make our main debrief page look more, you know, I don't know, successy. You've sent data. Okay, so now let's go to process.php. So we're not actually going to do that much PHP in this tutorial, but we are going to just output our data into a file. So leave this all equals empty string and delete everything up until this debugging commented out area. And then we have these functions which parsed our data for individual pages. So we're going to delete those from pdim to the start of our utility functions here. Okay, so we're going to uncomment this. And so basically this will just go through all of our data, put it in all, and send it out to a file. Okay, let's see. So refresh. I'm going to skip some the demographics page. Let's go to lung, click on some cancer, add a diagnosis. Go to the next trial. Let's see what a lot of checkboxes look like. Submit. Okay, we got our fireworks. All right, but let's see if we actually got our data. Let's go to data, look at our data. And we have the start and end time that we just put in. We have our abnormalities that we checked. You know, we skipped our demographics page, so there is some missing information here. Let's see, we have scrolls. Okay, not bad. But you'll notice we didn't have our diagnoses come in. So we need to do something to get our diagnoses to show up. So let's go to, I'm already there. Let's go to custom.js, and there's going to be a function here called, let's see, add all. So let's copy that and put it in our utilities as a form helper. Okay, so basically what this does is it adds everything in an area, and it gives it the key, with numbers appended to it that you specify, and it grabs only things of a certain class. So this is why when we added input, we actually gave it a class name. This is another reason, we said this was for sorting it. This is the other place where we sort it. So let's go to v.html and go to the end of our trial 2. Okay, so we will do inside the curly brace here, add all. Okay. Took 3 arguments. So the first was this diagnosis div where we created them. So we're basically telling the function where to look for this information. How'd that happen? Okay, and then the next one is the key that we want to use to store this information. So I'm just going to use the same name again. And then the last one is the class. So let's go to our custom util, scroll up, and the class we gave it was this p trial2 diag elements. So let's copy that and put that in. Okay, so now let's try this again. Okay, so I'm gonna do Okay, so now we can see that we actually have our diagnosis information. So it gives us our key, the diagnosis we gave it, along with click information. So let's assume things didn't go well, and that somehow or another the server went down after they loaded the page but before they submitted it. So if that happens, let's go to common.js, go down to our send data. Okay, so if it fails, it's basically just going to say this failed, try again. If it fails 3 times, then it's going to give the user another option to email you the information. So let's see. So let's refresh. Okay, so now that I refreshed, I'm going to go to my server. I'm going to hit Control-C to stop it. Okay, I'm going to submit. It's going to say, didn't work. So please keep the page open. You tried once, so I'm going to try again. Tried twice. And it's like the server is just not responding because we turned it off. And it's going to give this data, which I can copy if I want. And now I can go and put this in, to my own email client or something. Or I can click this link and it will open my own email client, assuming I use that, with the data already preloaded. There are a lot of unknowns here. This is a link with all the information in it, so whether or not this actually works depends on the user's browser, their operating system, and whatever email client they're using. So you might actually want to remove it. Some combinations don't actually let more than a kilobyte of information through, so you you might want to just force them to copy and paste stuff from the text box. So I'm going to do that now. So let's see. Let's go to common.js, and you have a fail page. Let's see. So I have this set link function, and this is what creates both my regular email link as well as my email client link with all the information. So if I go to set link, I'm going to remove this full ID. Don't want it anymore, and that means I don't need to get the full text either. So now I'm just going to be adding my email address to the specified area of text here. Okay, also, let's say I want to put all of my information. So right now this is just the minimal information in this text box. It doesn't have the scrolls or anything like that, so let's put that in there too. So in populate fail page, we have this min string and full string. So full string would be all of the information. Min string is nothing we're going to use anymore. So I'm going to remove that and put full string here. And we'll want to go to v.html to the multi-fail page. So we have multi-fail. And let's remove the area where it offers the email client option. Okay, and something else while we're doing this is you notice we added an email to this text. So in common.js up at the top, we have a place for you to stick your email where you want them to send you data. Okay, so let's turn my server back on, refresh, turn my server back off. So I'm going to scroll. Okay, so now we no longer have the direct link, and we do have all of our information in our copy and paste box. But let's say miraculously the server starts working again, they can hit try again, and it works. Now that we have them actually submitting data, there's something else we'll want to do. You'll notice they can actually go through the trials and get to the end and then be like, okay, I'm done, and then leave. That'd be bad. Somebody goes through all the effort of doing your experiment and then they don't actually send you the data. So what we want to do is have a little box pop up and warn them if the data hasn't been successfully submitted. So we only want this box to pop up if they've actually consented to continuing. So let's go with custom util.js. Remember we had that consent branch that we had moved here. So if they actually checked, yes to consent, then we have in common.js a warning that's already pre-made for them. So in send data, you have this silent close. And so basically if the data gets successfully sent, then we set silent close to true because they're allowed to leave now without us warning them. But if they haven't yet, they go to custom util and add this silent leave, but set it to false. So this means if they try to leave, we'll yell at them. Okay. So if you yes to consent, and now if I try to leave, a message pops up asking me if I would really like to do so. If I hit cancel, a little message will pop up here saying please complete the trial and submit the data. Okay, so once they submit, they can now leave and it won't yell at them anymore. Same thing, if we go and we hit no, we can leave without getting yelled at. And if we just show up, we can also leave without getting yelled at. Okay, so now that we've had them submit the data, we might want to give them a proper debrief. So, because they can't actually change their information, after they've submitted it. So let's see. So let's go to v.html and look at our debrief pages. We haven't actually added anything. Trial 1, didn't have any tumors. But trial 2, we said it had 3. Oh, let's actually remove this trial 1 and 2 because that's meaningless now that trials are randomized. Okay, and so for the trial with tumors, let's actually add some buttons to highlight the tumors for them. Okay, so let's see. To find our tumors, let's go to viewer. Let's show the viewer. Oh, that's lucky. That's the one we want. So let's say there was a tumor here, here, and here. Okay, let's open up our console, Control-Shift-I, and I'm going to do viewer get clicks for, and we're on image 2, and I want it separated with commas and new lines. Okay, so this gives us the X, Y, and slice, as well as the time. We don't care about the time. So let's see. Let's use that highlight click that we use when we actually click on things. So let's go to highlight click. Oh, this is in v.html. Highlight click. Okay, and this will be 3, comma, and we will apply the long window because they're in the long. Oh, right, single quotes. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the other ones. So let's see, so I can get information here. Let's copy that. Paste. And copy the next one. It's worth mentioning if you changed your dimensions in config.ini, these numbers will be different even if you're using this exact same slide because they're based off of the dimensions specified there. Okay, and because we are setting this to long, let's, when we return, turn off our windowing. So let's refresh. Okay, let's try that one. So tumor A. Okay, so that's definitely wrong. I put 3 instead of 2. And I think that was the problem. It was trying to go to a slice that didn't exist because the image at index 3 didn't exist. So just a little typo, hopefully. Also, not to forget to save your file after you fix corrections, after you fix things. Okay, so none, submit, view. Okay, so we got to turn off the fireworks, otherwise it's going to constantly remove our highlights here. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to this, and in custom util, okay, so let's go to our trial order. And in our functions, where we actually go to debrief pages, let's cancel the fireworks. Refresh, show, none, submit, view. All right, now our fireworks were canceled. Good. Oh, I named them all A. That's silly. E, C. Okay, so two things I forgot. When we go to the debrief pages, we need to actually show the viewer. For that page, so PDBF1, that's at the first image, and we'll go to the first slide. PDBF2 is at the second. Okay, save that. And also, since we're changing the viewer's image, when we go to these separate pages for debriefing, we need to change it back. When we go back to main, so this is on the 4th for me, and 1. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so that goes to the correct, and then that goes back, and then, I mean, these two would look the same, but... Okay, so that works. The second thing is this counter up here. You notice when we submitted it, it actually moved forward, but we'd like it to move forward as the user progresses through the trials. So to do that, we have this advanced counter function. Also, up at the top of common.js, we have the amount of stages. I'm going to use 7 because I added that intro page. So let's go back to v.html. Okay, so we have our intro page. When they leave it, we're going to advance the counter. We have consent. And on consent, we're only going to advance the counter if they hit yes. So let's go to scripts and utilities. Okay, so on my branch, if they hit yes, then we'll advance the counter. Let's see, when They would then go to the instructions, so advance the counter from there. And whenever they enter a trial, so we'll do in this start next, so in trial order, if they start the next trial, we will advance the counter. And also advance the counter when they leave the trials and go to the last page. So this would be when they enter the comments page. Okay, so let's see how that works. I might not have saved it. So let's save it here. Make sure I saved utilities. Okay, now let's try this. So refresh. Okay, we move to the next position. Okay, and now it didn't advance here, but that's fine. We didn't really want it to. This is just a disclaimer page, so hopefully it will advance when we hit the next, and it does. Okay, and then now that we're leaving, will advance. That being said, it's already saying we're done and we haven't hit submit yet, so we need one more notch in our stages. So let's go back to common and do 8. Okay, so we'll try that. Okay, so now it doesn't say we're complete because we haven't submitted yet. So when we hit submit, we're complete. Okay, and we're done.